Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to another exciting episode of Psychology Talks, and I'm your host, Amreen Nadeem. Today, we're going to discuss a very important topic that how we can actually harness the humanity back, and we'll think about it. We learn from a UN leader that how we can have these psychological forces and harness these psychological forces to bring back humanity in life. Dr. Kabir has over 20 years of experience at United Nations, and he has led several initiatives impacting over 1.5 billion people worldwide, advancing gender equality, disability inclusion, and human rights. He currently serves as Senior UN System Coordinator, Advisor, and Global Lead for Gender Equality and Disability inclusion at UN Women Headquarters, coordinating global teams and programs across more than 100 countries. And today we're going to discuss all these with Dr. Kabir. So thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Kabir. Thank you so much. It's really an honor to have you with us.
Thank you, Ambreen. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure. And I'm really looking forward to connect psychology, development, and leadership because that is something so often we don't do, I must admit.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you've led so many like teams and people across UN and across the globe. So who else better to discuss with you? So thank you so much. So yeah, actually, I've shared a very brief introduction about
Mhm.
you, but tell us a bit about your journey, that how you started and why this mission, this cause is close to your heart.
Thank you very much. I was student even at the intermediate level. I was president of a debating club,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a Notre Dame debating club in the Notre Dame College. And I think that debating skill and debating for a particular topic for both angle
Mm-hmm.
certainly creates some inspiration. But then while I was in the graduate school, both in Asia and in Europe, um, and also post graduation process, I got involved in the different type of student movement. For example, we work against blasphemy law, so that nobody can use law for religious purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Then at one point I was um, Amnesty International's one of the university's chapter president, and
Mm-hmm.
as Amnesty International chapter president of a university in UK, I definitely get engaged with a lot of amnesty campaign, and that gives me the thought about uh, price of life, human
Mm-hmm.
dignity,
Mm-hmm.
right to life. Certainly, those issues were more on the side of the civil and political rights. But
Mm-hmm.
very interestingly, after my graduation, I get engaged with an organization who deals with freedom of expression, Article 19,
Mm-hmm.
and that creates the sensitivity about censorship, freedom of expression, right to speech, right to also the protection of the journalist. So,
Mm-hmm.
in a way, that is in the borderline of civil and political rights, and also economic, social, and cultural rights, because I recognize many civil and political rights actually connected with economic, social, and cultural rights. But the way
Yeah.
the world human rights movements then was very sharp division between the
Yeah.
two set of rights because of the ideological position of the United States and the then Soviet Union, of course,
Mm-hmm.
that divides the world human rights movement as well.
Mm-hmm.
And now that we no longer have that ideological sharp division across
Mm-hmm.
human rights, it becomes much more relevant for us to see human rights in a more coherent and comprehensive way and more
Mm-hmm.
connected way. And that
Mm-hmm.
inspired me to join a multilateral organization like United Nations.
Mm-hmm.
By no means United Nations is a perfect organization, but as sometimes we call ourselves that this is what we have in the absence of a perfect organization.
Yeah.
But in between, I had opportunity to work with civil society organization. Also, for some time, I worked with the media. uh,
Mhm.
and was law correspondent, human rights editor. So you might say that combination of civil society activism,
Mhm.
media, press freedom, journalism, and then United Nations development work
Mhm.
shaped my journey. And that
Wow.
journey convinced me much more the need for empathy,
Mhm.
because that is where I think humanity suffer a lot, lack of it,
Yeah.
as we see around the world today.
Yeah, absolutely. Your journey is quite inspiring because a lot of people like maybe get the chance to get to know all these things, what's happening around them, especially that how the humanity is suffering. But
Hmm.
very few people take this as their mission to solve some issues like you are doing. So it's really inspiring that that you come across and you come at the front and start taking some action to resolve some issues, because most of the time when I hear people like around me, even when they're very much interested in doing the social work or something,
Hmm.
most of the people say that, oh, this is not a right career to go, because a lot of people
Mm,
say that it doesn't offer lots of opportunities.
mm.
So here I would just also want to ask that what kept you motivated to actually still go for these to pursue your career in this field, because as I said, that a lot of people may have the heart to actually go for that, but they don't do it just because people around them don't even encourage them.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, when I was a law student, and when
Mm-hmm.
I finished my law student and my specialization was human rights, as I mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I, of course, went for bar exam. I
Mm-hmm.
have been then qualified as an advocate or lawyer. And then I started going to a law chamber, started appearing to the court and representing client at the very early stage of my career.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something right thing to do for a law student, right? It also gives you much more secured life, in the sense that you have a law chamber, you represent your client, gives you relief also financially, which is
Mm.
much more rewarding to become a lawyer. And if you are a successful
Yeah.
lawyer, of course it much more. Human rights is always a little bit up in the air, because
Yeah.
it is much more passion and inspiration, and therefore less encouragement. And then, of course, people say, "Oh, okay, you are doing this, but wasn't it better option to go for a law career?" Because
Mm-hmm.
that's in every society. If you look at US, UK, or
Mm.
even Asia or Latin America or Africa, lawyers, bar council, bar,
Yeah.
judiciary, court,
Yeah.
much more exciting, I would say, legally, but also financially rewarding.
Yeah.
Now, I, I, I always thought that we have one life, and if in this one life, if I do something which does not satisfy my human spirit, I would not get this opportunity later, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
And there are thousands of people who are in the law chamber. Of course, there are many people who are working human rights, but I always felt human rights, inclusion, these are the very special area where you would not find many people. And
Yeah.
I was right, because even at this stage, when I look around, there are not many people who talk about human
Yeah.
rights, diversity, inclusion, and often people see themselves as a, oh, there are kind of add on. So you have a program, let's do a diversity training, or let's
Mm.
include person with disability or LGBTIQ
Yeah.
say, or ethnic minorities. And then we'll do it. Same thing happen when UN talk about sustainable development goal, and
Yeah.
sometimes we talk about leave no one behind as a principle. But whenever I look for consistent narrative, consistent initiative by countries, how can you really connect women
Mm.
living in the rural area,
Yeah.
or maybe a widow who is just because of his widowhood, got deprived from her access
Mm.
to
Mm.
property. In many
Yeah.
societies, we do
Mm-hmm.
face these challenges. How can we help or use law or human rights or national mechanism to support them?
Mm.
Those are the areas I feel there is still lot of gaps, not only in US, not only in UK, not only in Europe, but also in Asia Pacific, in Africa, in Latin America, globally. So
Yeah. Yeah.
situation is not as encouraging. I must tell you a little anecdotal story. I had an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to meet almost 29 young female judges. They came
Oh
for
wow.
a for kind of a there was a bilateral exchange, so they came to US
Mm.
for visiting US courts, and they came from all around the world, Latin America, Arab states, Asia Pacific. And I had an opportunity to have a 1 hour session with the 21, 29 female judges. And I asked them, how do you think that the courts you are sitting in your country really represent marginalized communities, disadvantaged
Yeah.
groups, those
Mm-hmm.
who have none, to
Mm-hmm.
represent them? And they are
Yeah.
saying we are really struggling. And
Mm.
it's a kind of a unity among them, which I didn't expect. They're all saying that yes, we have legal aid, yes, we have lawyers, we have bar association, we have committees to support, but when a mother comes to court, or a disabled person with disability come to court, or someone who is ethnic minority or coming from downtrodden area,
Mm-hmm.
it's very difficult to find a lawyer, very difficult to give him or her a quality defense. And
Mm-hmm.
even if we're able to give, it's very difficult to enforce that judicial
Oh.
decree or award after that
Okay.
person left the court with whatever the
Mm-hmm.
outcome of a
Mm-hmm.
dispute.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there is I realized then if 29 young female judges who are much more spirited entered the legal profession as a judge are
Yeah.
in unified in saying that they are still really desperate to find means to provide
Yeah.
the redress in
Mm-hmm.
their own societies,
Yeah.
then the problem and the human rights challenges and the inclusion and the empathy gap is severe around the world.
Yeah, absolutely. This is such an important issue, and you highlighted the key insight here that this is a global issue, and like a lot of people are coming to support this, like to help people to remove or eradicate these issues. But the thing is still there is a long way to go. And as you said that in across, like in all the countries, it's difficult to actually find the good lawyers for the communities which are underrepresented or the minorities. So why do you think, what is the main challenges, or what are the main obstacles for this? Why it's not happening, despite, as you're saying, that there are some associations, there are
Mm.
some policies, yet it's not happening? So what is the main thing that is stopping it?
There are a very I would divide them broadly to two sort of pillar. One, at one end, we have we managed to develop big institution laws and mechanisms, right, to help, and a lot of many institutions, and they're doing good work, no doubt, networks. But I think one of the area that you are working on, and a lot of appreciation to your work, is the we often ignore elements of emotional intelligence. We often ignore elements of self-awareness. We often ignore the cognitive issues. We often ignore
Yeah.
resilience building process, right? We and our development has become much more structure oriented. Therefore, we are very interested to big building, whether it is a renovation of an existing one, or setting up. And now, of course, the big issue of accessibility. And when you raise the issue of accessibility. People typically say, "Oh, wheelchair. Yes, yes, yes. Our building has wheelchair access," but it's not about wheelchair because you may have people with emotional, intellectual challenges, right? That's one element of it. Then you also have, because of the empathy gap, we often judge people by the way we judge ourselves.
Mhm.
That's one thing. And another thing is a lot of organizations, media, mainstream activists, they got captured by elites. We call it elite capture,
Mhm.
right? So, and UN is not immune from elite capture. Big government are not immune from elite capture. So they hire, they recruit, they find experts who are not necessarily connected on the ground, and as a result, many of our large, big organizations and corporations are captured by elites who are the best of the society, right? Individual.
Yeah.
They're not bad people. I'm not
Mhm.
vilify them, not judging them.
Yeah.
But just because of their wealthy background, Ivy League education,
Mhm.
top-notch experience in the law firm or other institutions or global corporation or very famous banks, they have
Mhm.
interned and then they managed a very good career. When they are into public policy, there is certainly an empathy gap, and those things we need to address very deliberately. You no longer can just add a few languages. Therefore, in
Yeah.
certain countries now, you see a reverse reaction towards diversity, towards inclusion, right? They said, okay, we should not use those words. I
Yeah.
understand that there might be people who are tired of hearing this or listening to this, but it's not about how many times in a document or in an area you use those terms. It's about how can you really manifest human rights. So you may have a document or you may have something which never used the term human rights, but you
Yeah.
can be the most human rights friendly program or event, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll just want to give you one example. The issue of food security. We never thought food
Mhm.
security would be so prevalent in
Mhm.
rich and affluent society like North America, right?
Mhm.
But yet you saw that many, I think every one American, I'm just saying one statistics, it's a government
Mhm.
statistics, out of 8 are suffering from food security, food
Oh.
insecurity. And
Oops.
it's so the food insecurity is not a problem of Africa as sometimes mainstream media
Mhm.
portrayed. Oh, there are famine in Africa,
Yeah.
or sub-Saharan Africa. Food insecurity is an issue in US. Food insecurity is an issue in UK. Food insecurity is an issue in Asia Pacific. Food
Mhm.
insecurity is an issue in countries in the Caribbean and others. So this is a global issue which is unfortunately in this age, we when we
Mhm.
are talking about artificial intelligence,
Yeah.
assistive technology, we are talking about much more sophisticated scientific innovation. We
Yeah.
are also dealing very primitive and very uh, primary issue of food insecurity, food on the table.
Yeah. Yeah. This is
So
such an
how do
yeah.
you really balance it, right?
Yes, I mean, this is fascinating also that like how these small issues are neglected, uh, whereas like we talk about the AI and everything, but at the same time, food insecurity is a major issue.
Mm,
But I'm just glad to share that, you know, especially like I'm based in Saudi Arabia. Saudi
mm,
Arabia is taking major steps to bring food security
mhm,
to its country. I mean, despite the fact that that there like not many things like it can grow. It's mainly a desert, but government has taken so many initiatives to bring the food security to its
mhm,
people. So, anyways, there are like, but at the same time, we like as you shared, that there's so many countries which are way more advanced, but they are kind of neglecting this very primary issue, and which is basic for the living. And I think these are the things which when we talk about, I think then people also get to know about it, and then maybe they will demand that they need food security or something like this. So I think that's why it's very important to have these kind of conversations to
Mm.
bring the awareness among the people as well. Anyways, like, I'm also so glad that Courtney has joined us, and she's like commenting. So thank you so much, Courtney, for being here with us and sharing your comments. It's really good to have you because you're the one who actually connected us. So I'm so glad that
I could be.
yes, and
Yes.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, so moving further to the conversation, as since we talk about like a lot about, and you also shared that most of the time it's the emotional intelligence and these cognitive biases that comes, and that actually that creates or obstacles in creating that kind of leadership. So,
Hmm.
so I would just want to ask that what psychological forces do you believe are the most critical for leaders to harness in order to create an inclusive society?
Sure. Thank you very much. And I think
Yeah,
you're raising a very important point. Going back to what your comments you just made. Yes, of course. Particularly the country where you are a very very important country in the region, an affluent country, and so a lot of kudos to some of the initiative they have taken, especially some of the development goal. But I
yeah,
would also say, particularly the Gulf countries and Saudi Arabia, their leadership, we expect that they can certainly do much more. And I
yeah,
hope and pray that the leadership rise to the occasion,
yeah,
particularly when we talk about human dignity issue, because
yeah,
human dignity and human rights are very connected. Human rights sometimes
absolutely.
gets politicized and political because every country looking at their national sovereignty and national priority,
Yeah,
they treat human rights is sometimes as a unfortunately as a politically, but human dignity I found is much more free from politics, at least whether you talk about migrant workers, you talk about refugees, who are state-led person or internally displaced persons. I would just hope and pray that concrete steps would be taken, uh, especially granting the dignity and all kind of safety that we all enjoy to those who are really coming to our society, building our society, helping us. And it's not necessarily, I mean, I only identifying Middle East or Gulf countries, or, but as I said, is even in North America, the issues of migration, migrant workers are a hot political issue now, right?
yeah,
I'm not going into the politics, but if we are all as human race, and if we want to improve the quality of life and ensure human dignity and human rights for every one of us, then we surely we can do more than what we are doing.
yeah, absolutely.
That's one thing. And then I will get back to your point about what we can do more for inclusion, right? Or am
Yeah,
I
yeah,
skipping
yeah.
any?
No,
Okay.
no, no. It's okay. Yes.
And for inclusion, I think it's not that some people misunderstood inclusion in the way that they think, oh, we cannot bring everyone to everywhere. Certainly not. I'm not suggesting that. Say if you are dealing with sophisticated artificial intelligence, or you're talking about nanotechnology, or you are working on rocket science, of course not everyone will contribute to that process. That's one thing. So there are element of expertise and relevance that is important, but at least every society has to ensure that everyone receive an opportunity for education. It doesn't have to be
Mm-hmm.
higher education. Not everyone
Mm-hmm.
will go
Yeah,
to PhD program. Not everyone needs to go for post graduation specialized program,
yeah,
but at least people has an opportunity to intermediate and graduation programs, which might shape his thinking or her thinking, and they might decide their course of action, whether they go into
yeah,
the job market, or do an independent business, or maybe pursue their higher education.
yeah,
That opportunity to think and decide and making a choice is critically important.
Yes.
Not all of us has the luxury of that choice. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm just sort of hoping for a world where at least every child has that opportunity to make a choice of their own and
Mm.
not necessarily forced into abject poverty, and then there is no choice. Only choice
Yeah.
for them to right to life and safe drinking water,
Yeah.
or unfortunately food safety, that issues.
Mm-hmm.
We have ongoing conflict in Europe, in Ukraine and neighboring countries. We have ongoing conflict at least somewhat resolved, but still the issues are there in Palestine, in Middle East. If you look at also the element of part of Africa, South Sudan,
Mm-hmm.
there are tensions and conflict everywhere. I'm not saying we will find a world where there won't be conflict. There might be conflict because that's also a human nature. But at least even in conflict, we maintain human rights, civility to the extent possible, and ensure right to life and food and water, because
Yeah.
so that we don't cut the connection to food, medical health, the
Mm.
water, the lifeline, the dignity, and all the UN humanitarian laws and standards that have been developed following Second World War,
Yeah.
where the war has a law, human rights has to be maintained, human dignity has to be maintained, those type of thing. And I think it goes back to what you were saying, psychology of development. Because if you
Yeah.
want to do a development for all or inclusive development, then we
Mm-hmm.
have to add empathy, and we
Yeah.
have to analyze the psychological part. And yes, intelligence is important, EQ and IQ both.
Yes.
Emotional intelligence and IQ both are have to be
Mm-hmm.
integrated in any
Yeah.
response we develop.
Yes, yes, I love that. Thank you so much for, explaining it in detail. And it's really, really important to actually, I think, keep an eye on all those factors and then start pushing and, uh, and keep like, as you said, like it's not only just looking at this, but having this emotional intelligence and having all those psychological factors are also very important to lead it properly. So thank you so much for explaining it in a very detailed way. I was just thinking, like, since we're talking about, like you mentioned, that especially about the food insecurity part, and like these are the primary things which are neglected.
Mhm.
And it adds like there's another the questions coming a question coming to my mind is that I know that lots of primary needs are also ignored a lot and neglected, but as we are moving further, especially in the era of AI, and there's a lot is developing, new issues are developing. So what is the stance of, like, especially UN, or or the role of, like, your expertise here, that how you keep an eye on new developing issues, especially like when I look at AI, there
Mhm.
is no surveillance of AI, there is no scrutiny of like how people are using AI. And because I also really like when you said that there is a difference between human dignity and human rights, because human right is mostly, like, politicized, but if you have this human dignity, that is important. So how, like, UN or at like or people at the, I would just say, at the top level, are maintaining the ethics of using these kind of tools that are developing now, which can breach human dignity very easily. And there is, at this level, there is no check, there is no scrutiny from any government that how people are misusing it or anything. So what do you think, what is your stance on this?
Yeah, I think the if I talk about, for example, artificial intelligence that you have mentioned, just as an
Mm,
example,
yeah,
certainly artificial intelligence significantly improve progress on sustainable development and equality.
yeah, yeah,
Mm. By broadly, artificial, of course, intelligence relies on machine learning.
yeah,
But then studies also show that a persistent gender and
yeah,
ability gap is also important
yeah,
in generative artificial intelligence use. STEM
Yeah.
education, and also
Yeah.
the AI workforce,
Yeah.
where women, we a person with disabilities,
Yeah.
uh, aging population. Aging doesn't mean that they are like over 90. Even
Yeah.
people around the 60, 70,
Yeah.
they're underrepresented at every stage, from training
Mhm.
to leadership. Similarly, people with
Mhm.
disabilities face systemic exclusion,
Mhm.
amplified by you have inaccessible artificial
Mhm.
intelligence design and
Mhm.
outdated medical model framing disability.
Yeah.
Uh, Women and LGBTIQ people and also living in far off places in the rural area, particularly, I would say,
Mhm. Mhm.
they're much more vulnerable to artificial intelligence, AI
Yeah.
driven automation, risking
Yeah.
widened employment gaps without
Yeah.
targeted reskilling process.
Yeah.
Women, person with disabilities, minorities are also starkly underrepresented in AI
Mhm.
design and development. There are
Yeah.
AI design processes happening in Silicon Valley, in many other places of the capital.
Yeah.
You hardly see there are high-tech innovation lab where underrepresented or ethnic minorities or women or person with disabilities are being invited to join the
Mhm.
innovation process.
Mhm.
They're not part of the development process, leading to technology that often fail to address those needs and experiences. So
Yeah.
AI has its bias, both explicit and implicit, remains a major concern for all of us,
Yeah.
especially in the
Yeah.
recruitment, healthcare, content
Yeah.
generation, if I may say
Yeah.
so, where
Mm.
stereotyping can be reinforced rather than dismantled. So
Yeah.
if you want to address at the senior level or a higher level this process, now thing is we at the leadership level, people are used to being presented solution and options by the bureaucracy or system that is already built in, right?
Yeah.
So you talk about a ruler, whether it
Mm.
is uh, sultan or prince or president
Yeah.
or prime minister. At that level, that's one level. Then you
Mhm.
also talk about the CEO, the head of the organizations, top-notch officials. They come to the negotiating table. They come to the workplace as a head of the organization, leading thousands and millions of people and workplace. Whether it is a country, it's a big company. The reason I'm saying big company because some of the big companies' budget, annual budget, is
Yeah.
higher than a country, right?
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
multinational company. So they come to the table and their solutions and options are offered to them.
Mhm.
And honestly, they don't have time or opportunity to question those solutions. They just look
Mhm.
at option A, B, C, and they pick
Yeah.
one. All
Yeah.
those are already developed. So
Mhm.
the challenge which I found that a lot of people they're saying the right thing when you look at the different international days, say 10 December International Human Rights Day,
Mhm.
UN
Mhm.
Human Rights Day, or there are many other special day,
Yeah.
national day for each country. And the leaders always in their speeches talk the right thing, right? The
Yeah.
state or the kingdom are really looking into everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone needs and demands. But their dependence for solution to the problems that their people or their
Mhm.
clients or the customers facing
Mhm.
are on the existing system they have.
Mhm.
Now, that is the problem at the senior level solution making because at the senior level they don't have time to question this. They have time to look into different options they are presented with.
Yeah.
And so if they are continuing to use the existing pattern of
Yeah.
developing solution,
Yeah.
they would not be able to address the whether it is artificial intelligence generated bias or any
Yeah.
other technology driven or existing bureaucratic bias, right?
Yeah.
Because that is
Yeah.
already built in. So
Absolutely.
what is the solution? I'm not talking about breaking down everything, or some might say, okay, this is a revolution, socialist talk. No, all I am saying that leaders needs to invest time in their solution offering.
Yes.
At least if they are presented with three solutions, they should spend time that how these solutions are being made and presented to,
Yeah.
whether the people who for which the solutions are being made
Mm-hmm.
are asked about it,
Mm-hmm.
are they consulted about it, whether if you want to build a dam or if you want to build a new city which would be prosperous, or if you want to develop a new vaccine or a
Mm-hmm.
new medication, or you want to roll out something, have you really, it's not, I'm not talking about companies trial period or the
Mm-hmm.
kind of trial they run,
Yeah.
but I'm also talking for development. Even it's I'm just drawing a parallel for the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
As pharmaceutical companies run their quote unquote imperfect trial
Mm-hmm.
for any vaccination, time
Mm-hmm.
has come that development paradigm and ruling class needs to also run trial process before offering any solution to those who are genuinely affected or will
Yeah.
be affected by those
Mm.
solutions or the decision making. And
Yeah.
this has to be genuine, intentionality has to be there, and you
Exactly.
have to really keep your mind open that here are the three solutions we are thinking of. What do you think?
Mm. Yeah.
Or is there any other fourth solution that you might
Mm-hmm.
suggest us? So it's not
Yeah.
necessarily only out of three you have to tick one box. Also think about something else might be the solution which
Yeah.
we never
Mm.
thought of. Those type of openness and those type of, I would say, broadness in your mind
Mm-hmm.
can only happen if you have empathy. And therefore I'm linking your core topic is psychology
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
empathy.
Yeah.
That is so
Yes.
important for ruling class, and also the kind of solution challenges we are addressing nowadays in everyday.
Yes. Absolutely. Love those insight. And you're so right that this empathy actually creates that openness, because when this is the only way we can actually connect with the other person, that what they're trying to say. And also it's not only that, as you said, that it's not only just being stuck in that situation and keeping just finding out this, okay, this is the right solution, we put a tick mark and move on to this. It's just having a thorough analysis at what's going on at the ground level, and then how and with whom it is impacting. So I think it's this is the only way, like when we are being empathic, and we're that is the way we can open our mind and understand that what's happening at the ground level. So I love these insights. I know that you are an expert on this topic, and we can actually talk a lot on this, but the
Mhm.
time of the show is very limited. So, and we are almost at the end of the show. So, before I actually close the show, I would just ask you that what one piece of advice would you like to give to our audience, that if they want to create an impact, what should they do?
In terms of the impact for any sector, or
I mean, yeah, if we want, we can just talk about the inclusion, but I would just, let's say, keep
Mhm.
it open, that if they
Mhm.
want to create an impact in their field, what do you think, uh, what should they do?
Yeah, thank you very much. I would say that whether you are working in a robotics or engineering or banking, insurance, anything you do, what I am seeing increasingly is there is, of course, a rush and then lack of opportunity for those who are needed to listen to. So
Yeah.
if you are developing, say, a housing solution for those who need housing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then talking to those and looking at the demography is critically important. Uh, 40, 50 years ago, there was an pattern of housing was needed, right? So family used to
Yeah.
live. There are many societies where you had joint families. Things have changed. Individualistic living has become much more
Yeah.
common. A young generation, typically what we saw from the survey, they do not want to outrightly own houses.
Yeah.
Mobility has increased. Internet and connectivity has changed the life pattern. So if you, I'm just picking one example
Yeah.
for the interest of the time. So the right to adequate housing is a human rights. But if today's society and cities, in the urban places and the rural places and semi-urban places, if you want to solve the critical issue of housing, because it pains me to see people who are still do not have a place to live or sleep. Sometimes you
Mm.
see the homeless people in many
Yeah.
societies, and it also connects to human rights and human dignity, right?
Yes.
And so if you have to develop housing plan for next 40, 50 years for any society, whether it is in Saudi Arabia or which has different challenges than in US or in Asia Pacific, in
Mm.
Bangladesh, or if you look at sub-Saharan Africa's, or in a conflict zone, housing has to be thought through in a way that take care of the aging population,
Yeah.
younger generation, and also the workforce who
Hmm.
are probably smaller families or who are living single. So how can a housing family address different needs and different age rather
Yeah.
than traditional mentality? And
Yeah.
how can housing becomes much more affordable? I think
Yeah.
affordability is the key, not only for housing, but also looking at global food price
Mm.
and the price all over the world. Affordability should be the key mantra that should be
Yeah.
addressed, whether it is
Yeah.
scientific innovation, food
Yeah.
production, medical development, medical care,
Yeah.
elderly care, you name it. I would
Hmm.
say one thing I should really hope that young generation would crack more success is creating more affordability for
Yeah.
everyone so that society becomes much more equal and
Hmm.
inclusive.
Yes, I love that. Thank you so much for the wonderful advice. And it's really an honor to have you with us, and because you shared such wonderful insights and explained it in detail. So I love that. I love our conversation. If anyone is listening who wants to reach out to you, what is the best way to reach out to you?
Certainly, through the X or LinkedIn, I
Okay.
respond a lot. I have
Um,
Facebook and also Insta.
okay.
So I'll happy to share those with you, and you can share
Sure.
all the
Sure.
contact details along with the record, this record, so that people have any additional questions or we can sustain some of the conversation. That
Yeah.
would be wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. Because your work is incredible in this area, and then you do a lot of work for the human rights. So those who really wants to invest time in protecting human rights, so definitely you're the right person. I'm sharing like I have actually just two with me, with like especially your LinkedIn, which is
Mhm.
going on the ticker, and I don't have your I think Facebook and or maybe like Insta. I
The
have, or
Insta
maybe we
would
are
be
connected. Yeah.
mcovid 2030 at
Okay.
mcovid 2030. So I'll be happy to respond.
Yeah, I will share it in the comments as well for so like whoever wants to.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and yeah, and
And I
thanks
will
to
share with the
Courtney.
Facebook as well. Thank you,
Sure, sure.
Courtney. Yes,
Thanks Courtney, because she's been also we've been like here, and she's been saying that this has been an incredible conversation. Thank you for hosting,
thank you
and
so much.
absolutely brilliant insights from Dr. Kabir. And thank you for being with us, Courtney. It's really a pleasure to have you with us. And thanks, Dr. Kabir. It was such a wonderful conversation. And thank you so much, and have a great day.
Thank you,
Bye.
Amrin, and I hope that this won't be the last. We will be
Of course.
conversing, and let's
Yes.
continue this conversation. And please keep up the great work. I have seen
Thank
some
you.
of your past work, and those are wonderful. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.